Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Outriders the demo for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Google Stadia, and PC. Outriders is an upcoming third-person looter-shooter co-op experience that dropped a demo that allowed us to play through essentially the first chapter of what they're promoting. Instead of just being some random hunter on an alien planet trying to get the best gears and guns, this game focuses not only on the gunplay, but also the fact that your character, either handcrafted or randomized, though the character creation options aren't that plentiful, you can't really adjust the faces, you can't even change the name or the voice of your picked character. But after you create your character and go through the prologue, which is about a half an hour to 45 minutes, you're able to pick one of four powered classes. There's the Pyromancer, which is a mid-range attacker that controls fire. You can do things like send a wave of fire towards your enemies, or even use it as something of a spear like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. There's the Trickster that is able to manipulate time, such as slow down an area of time in a dome, or being able to teleport behind an enemy for an instant one hit kill if you time it properly. There's the Devastator, which is the equivalent of the tank, the character that can take a lot of damage and give a lot back. The Devastator's attacks are based around the Earth, and being able to create things like seismic earthquakes, and jumping and doing devastating stomps, all the while being able to armor themselves with the actual ground around them. The Technomancer is a long-range fighter, such as being able to call a turret that actually freezes enemies when it connects. That of course makes it easier for the player to kill that enemy. The interesting fact about the classes and the overall gameplay is the fact that there is no regenerative health in the same sense that you would expect it. You can't use the game's cover system, which works similar to Gears of War. Maybe not as tight and as fluid, but it does work similar to Gears of War, and regenerate your health by sitting back and waiting for the enemies to miss a whole bunch of shots. Instead, you have to be proactive and utilize your skills to be able to regenerate your health. So if you say set an enemy on fire and kill them, as a Pyromancer, you'll be able to regenerate your health. All the characters, the Devastator, the Trickster, and the Pyromancer depend on essentially killing your enemy to regenerate health, whereas the weaker Technomancer just has to do damage. Of course, doesn't have as much HP as their counterparts, so it makes it a little bit more difficult, and you have to take your time, be a little bit more patient with the Technomancer than say with the Trickster, the Pyromancer, or the Devastator. For me personally, I enjoyed playing as the Trickster more than any other character. I started off as a Pyromancer, switched to a Trickster with a second character, and found myself having a lot more fun with the Trickster than I did with the Pyromancer. The Devastator was incredible to play with when I look back, because I ran through the entire missions that were available both main and side a lot faster with the Devastator than I did with any other character. Whereas the Technomancer had to take a lot more time and a lot more precision. I relied on the sniper rifle a lot more. Another thing that makes this game unique is the world tier system. The world tier system is essentially the game's difficulty settings. And as you defeat more enemies, complete missions, the tier system starts to increase. So this allows for the game not only to get harder, but you also get better rewards, better loot, better experience if you decide to go higher with the tiers that are advancing. Now the player can go back to tier 1 if they want to, have it on the easiest setting, play through the story, and not worry about the loot. But if you want to get the best loot, if you want to get the best gear, more than likely you will have to have the higher tier. In the demo, the furthest you could get was tier 7, but the game shows that you can get up to tier 15, which I don't know how crazy that's going to be, because there's a big difference between tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. I noticed that with the Pyromancer, I was pretty much between tier 2 and tier 3, but with the Trickster, I could get between tier 3 and tier 4. Devastator, I can actually get new missions with tier 4. So it was a nice little challenge to see how well I can prioritize my skills and figure out what I could do to advance and do better in these specific tiers. But it also was very noticeable that certain tiers, the higher the level, the more the game wants you to play with someone else. The numbers are so overwhelming that it may be difficult for solo players to play the higher tiers unless they have the best gears and maxed out their skill tree. There is a skill tree as well. Skill tree didn't unlock until I got to level 5 and I only got 1 point. But looking through the skill tree, it's based on increasing the base stats of things like your health, your abilities, effectiveness, and the like. Nothing extraordinary, but it's a grandiose skill tree. Another grinding aspect that I noticed about the game, as I mentioned with the missions, whereas the main missions are only able to be played once, the side missions, which are usually go here, kill a couple of enemies, rescue someone, or what have you, can be replayed because each side mission has up to 3 rewards, and you only can pick one per successful side mission. So if you want to get all 3 rewards, then you have to replay these missions. One thing that I noticed that could be a problem down the road when I fought the only boss that is available in the demo is the fact that certain classes actually benefit against certain enemies more than others. If you're playing solo and you happen to pick one class that's a lot weaker, in the case of the Devastator having a lot more trouble than say the Trickster against the boss, then solo run might be a lot more difficult when it comes to boss battles than they really should be. Speaking of co-op play, this game has a drop-in, drop-out feature. You can join a game at any time, drop out of a game at any time, and get experience points depending on what level you're playing as. The hosting game is the one that you'll be stuck at, so it's up to them to decide about the world tiers, and depending on what their level is what the enemy level will be. So it may not be the most beneficial just to play with random people, but if you want to enjoy the co-op play, it was very easy, it worked very well, and I had a good time when I was doing it. From a narrative perspective, the game is set in the world of Enoch, an alien planet after humanity has ruined Earth, and now they're trying to find another world to inhabit. But of course nothing goes right, and this leads to what we have now with Outriders. From a narrative perspective, the game isn't that profound from what I've seen thus far. It's pretty much paint by the numbers. There's a little humor here and there, especially with the protagonist, but other than that, it takes itself really seriously. It's not like you're gonna get this Borderlands experience when it comes to the overall story. There are little things here and there like accolades that you can get to increase your emotes or your customization options that have nothing to do with the gameplay but are more just cosmetic features. I also noticed that from a performance perspective, it was okay. It had a few frame rate drops here and there. It doesn't look the best, but mostly because this is a cross-generational game. Overall, this is one of those games that I think I will enjoy when it does come out in full form. It's a very solid looter shooter. It doesn't really do that much to really stand out amongst the pack. I will definitely be giving my first impressions of the full game when it does release, tentatively on April the 1st. But I will say, as a demo thus far, it did impress me. I am looking forward to it. It may not set the world on fire, but it does feel like it's a solid experience waiting to happen. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. Outriders the demo for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, Google Stadia, and PC. And if you don't mind, I have to return to the alien planet of Enoch and discover what my powers can really offer. And come time when the game officially releases, I can show the world what it really means to be altered and give my enemies no choice but to say, "Oh Lordy."